What's up, people? Welcome back to Chris Chats Comics. My name is Chris Gonzalez, and I'm back again for another episode of Trade Talk Tuesdays. And for this episode, I'm going to be talking about Spider-Man Blue by the legendary duo of Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale. And in celebration of the release of the new film Spider-Man Brand New Day, this month is Spider-Man month, so let's get into it. Welcome back. So Trade Talk Tuesdays is the video series where I highlight and discuss a collected edition, whether it just come out recently or something in my collection already. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a trade paperback. It can be a hardcover, or a couple hardcovers or a couple trade paperbacks. Doesn't matter. But yeah, so like I mentioned, I'm going to be going over Spider-Man Blue by Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale. So as always, I'm going to be reading the excerpt on the back. So it's about remembering someone so important to me, I was going to spend the rest of my life with her. What Peter Parker didn't know was that meant Gwen Stacy would only get to spend the rest of her life with him. This is the story of how they fell in love, or more appropriately, how they almost didn't fall in love. So welcome to Spider-Man's life, bad before good. It's kind of amazing. So in order to get the girl of his dreams, he'll have to run the gauntlet of the Green Goblin, the Rhino, 2 Vultures, and a mysterious man in the shadows controlling it all. So yeah, this is, spoiler alert, this was an incredible story. This was the first time I had read this. Again, Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale, the writer and artist duo. They have, worked before plenty of times. Most famously, they collaborated in Batman: The Long Halloween. Its sequel, Dark Victory, also did Catwoman When in Rome, and a couple of other stories. And for Marvel, they did this color associated series, and again, Spider-Man Blue was a part of that. And they also did Daredevil Yellow, Hulk Gray, and Captain America White. And it's been all collected before in an omnibus or an oversized hardcover that I hopefully comes back in print, because I would definitely upgrade to get that. But I'm not sure if this was the first story in that series. Let me know in the comments. It's either this or Daredevil, or it could be Hulk. I know Captain America was the last one, but yeah, this might have been first. I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah, this trade paperback collects Spider-Man Blue issues 1 through 6. And again, it's written by Jeph Loeb, and the artwork's done by Tim Sale. The colors are done by Steve Buccellato, and the letters are done by Richard Starkings and Wes Abbott. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So again, Tim Sale, incredible. We get an introduction from John Romita Sr. Yeah, let's go ahead and get in issue 1. Starts off with Peter is narrating the story, and he's essentially, throughout the whole story here, he's recording himself talking to Gwen. Now, Gwen has already passed away from that famous story where Green Goblin tossed Gwen over the bridge. Spider-Man tried to save her, but he was too late. She had broke her neck when he tried to pull her up, and she died in his arms. But yeah, so Peter, throughout the story, he's narrating, and he's just recording himself just confessing to Gwen that after all these years, he still loves her. He just reminisces about the first time they met and how they first fell in love. But yeah, again, loving the color palette here by Steve Buccellato, and again, it's all blue, hence Spider-Man Blue. And Tim Sale's design for Spider-Man is just awesome. Again, he was gone way too soon. Loving this double page spread. Spider-Man just swinging in the city. Everything's blue. So This is a very somber story, and it's cool that throughout all these issues, again, like the back excerpt said, Spider-Man, he goes through a lot of his rogues gallery in this, and I really appreciated, Tim Sale's designs for all the characters and the villains. So yeah, issue 1 starts off with, again, Peter's narrating, and he's just reminiscing about Gwen, and every year for Valentine's Day he goes to the same spot where she died, and he plants a rose and for her memory. So I thought this was a very wholesome and emotional moment. And then we cut back to the past where Peter, he is fighting Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, and Norman at this point, he knows Peter, his identity as Spider-Man. And Tim Sale here, and I know lately I've been known to criticize his writing, especially during the Batman The Last Halloween series, and I just thought that was not good. But here, Tim Loeb, the writing was impeccable. I feel like he nailed Peter Parker's voice and just the quips and just everything. Like he just got Spider-Man. So anyway, and I really dug the artwork in this, and the action sequences, again, were just drawn really well during this fight between Green Goblin. They're in this warehouse or this abandoned building, and look at this. Tim Sale, man, gone too soon. But yeah, so they're fighting. Peter Parker, he gets the upper hand of him, and eventually a pumpkin bomb that Goblin throws at him, and Peter repels it back. It goes off, causes an explosion, and causes the building to catch on fire. And Green Goblin, he has been knocked out. And Spider-Man, even though he thinks to himself, like, I can just leave him here, and if I would have done that, Gwen might still have been alive, but that wasn't the case. But anyway, Peter, he rescues Norman, and Norman, when he wakes up during the fire, he gets amnesia. He doesn't remember that he's the Green Goblin, and he doesn't remember that Peter is Spider-Man. So eventually, they take Peter, he lets Norman go to the hospital, and we cut to the Daily Bugle, and Peter gives J. Jonah Jameson the story that the Green Goblin's dead, and they run with it. And Peter, he goes to visit Norman at the hospital to make sure that Norman indeed doesn't remember that he's Spider-Man. And at this point in time, him and Harry, they're not great of friends, but they know each other, and they're more like acquaintances. And so in reality, when Peter goes to visit the hospital, he's going there to make sure Norman actually has amnesia. And so he's using that. He gets closer. He becomes more better friends with Harry. And then all of a sudden, Gwen Stacy shows up, and she gives him this look, and that's the moment he pretty much fell in love with her. And also enjoyed these moments with Peter and Aunt May, the banter with one of them, again, really great. Jeph Loeb, he understands their relationship dynamic to the T. So Aunt May gives Peter money so Peter can buy a motorcycle, so he can pick up chicks. And Peter eventually does buy a motorcycle, and he takes Gwen for a ride. And at the end of issue 1, we have this mysterious woman. She comes visiting Aunt May, and to see if Peter's there, but Aunt May says, no, Peter's not here. And then the woman's like, okay, well, I'll just come back later. And that woman is MJ. It's Mary Jane Watson. So, and then the next issue 2, we see that Peter, he is reading the Daily Bugle, and the headline is, Green Goblin's dead. And I just love this panel right here of him just upside down, and the newsstand clerk was like, "Hey, you gonna pay for that?" And just look at the detail in New York. Yeah, beautiful artwork by Tim Sale. And then we get this mysterious man after Spider-Man swings away. We get this mysterious man taking a newspaper, and yeah, who is this mysterious man? We don't know. And then cut to, I believe this is chemistry class. Peter's at this point, he's in college, so him and Gwen, they are getting closer to one another. They're flirting, and Flash, he's trying to cock block essentially Peter, and because of all the ruckus they've been causing, the teacher has to separate them. But you know, Gwen, she is not having it with Flash. He's being kind of a nuisance. And then we catch up with the police. They have incarcerated the Rhino, and then all of a sudden somebody breaks the Rhino out. Who could that been? We'll find out later. And then, yeah, again, typical banter with J. Jonah Jameson and Peter Parker. And Peter's like, "Hey, I need more money to help Aunt May pay bills." And Robbie Robertson tells Peter like, "Oh, I heard the Rhino escape." And Peter's like, "Okay, I'll go take photos." And we get this fight between Rhino and Spider-Man. And again, the fight, incredibly drawn. Action's very dynamic, and just again, Jeph Loeb just nails Spider-Man's voice. He just gets the quips down. Just look at how great this artwork is. The fight is really exhilarating. And Spider-Man, he's just talking shit like he always does. But eventually, a building falls on Rhino, and Peter, he gets a small sample of the Rhino's hide. And he takes it to Dr. Kirk Connors so they can examine it and see what it's made out of. And in this section, they reference, or they allude to, Connors' time as a Lizard. And Kurt, he tells Spider-Man like, "Oh, well, I've been doing good lately. I haven't turned back to the Lizard, so I can finally invite my wife and my son from Florida to visit me." And then we get to round 2 of Spider-Man versus Rhino, and Spider-Man, he like shoots out this brown looking webs, and you're like, why are the webs brown? So a combination of those weird colored webs and then water actually causes Rhino's hide to disintegrate. That allows Peter to knock him out and incapacitate him. And then again, we got this mysterious man watching over, observing Spider-Man. So who is this man? Again, we will find out. And then at the end of issue 2, Peter, again, he's on his way to go on a date to study with Gwen. But who's that? Aunt May is like, "Somebody's waiting for you." And then that someone is Mary Jane. And this is like a recreation of when they first met. And now Peter's in a dilemma. He is falling for 2 girls. Lucky him. So that's the end of issue number 3. And then, or issue number 2, and then issue 3 starts with Mary Jane. She's hanging out with Peter more, and inviting herself with him to hang out with his friend group. And they go out to this bar / restaurant, I think called the Silver Spoon. And everybody's infatuated with Mary Jane. Flash is trying to flirt with her, and everybody's like, "Who is that girl?" And again, Flash is trying to shoot a shot, and then Harry is there with Glenn, and you can see there's tension between Gwen and MJ because, you know, they're, you know, being competitive. And so it's revealed that the lizard, it's revealed that the lizard, there's a newscast of the lizard, he's back, and so Peter's like, oh, I gotta take photos of the lizard and Spider-Man. So MJ, she was just like, oh, I'll go with you. And so Peter and MJ, they leave to go to the crime scene, and Gwen's like, she feels left out. And then again, Peter and MJ go on this motorcycle ride. So they're getting closer with one another. You can see their relationship form. And so they get to the crime scene, and MJ, she distracts the cops while Peter infiltrates the cautioned off building. And yeah, then we get Spider-Man. He comes across Kirk Connor's wife and son, and at this point his son doesn't know that Kirk Connors is the lizard. And so Spider-Man goes looking for him, and again, look at how cool the lizard is and how he's designed. Again, great artwork by Tim Sale. So they get into a fight, and they're in the underground subway station. Again, fight scenes between all the villains are great, and Lizard's able to get away, but again, this mysterious person is talking to Lizard. Who is this person? Who is doing this? Who is behind the scenes? So again, Peter reconvenes with MJ. He's all beat up, and again, she's flirting with him hardcore. And then Lizard, he goes back to Kirk Connor's laboratory, and Spider-Man goes there as well. He knocks him out, and they get into another fight. Spider-Man subdues the lizard and gets the antidote, and meanwhile, Connors, his wife and son are there. They're about to enter the lab, and right as they enter it, Peter uses the antidote to turn Kirk back into his human form, and he saves the day. So then we go back to Peter goes back to Aunt May's house, and then he finds Harry is waiting out for him, and Harry pretty much tells him like, hey, since my dad is in the hospital, we got this apartment. Would you like to be my roommate? And also, are you and MJ dating? And Peter says no, she's just a friend. Well, and then Harry's like, okay, well, thank you for confirming that. I'm gonna make my move with MJ. So that's where issue 3 ends, and now issue number 4 start with Aunt May and Peter. They're eating breakfast, and again, look at just the details in the background and just the kitchen by Tim Sale. Just very detailed. Artwork is incredible. And so again, love the banter between the two. Again, this conversation is just very wholesome. Peter, he's eating cereal. He has a milk mustache, but in this sequence, Aunt May essentially asks Peter like, oh, can Mary Jane's Aunt Anna, can she move in with me? Considering like you're, in college, you're always in the city, and you should take Harry's offer and become his roommate. And Peter, he gives Aunt May his blessing and he's okay with Anna Watson moving in. And then we catch up with Vulture. Vulture's in jail, and there is a scheme going on to help the Vulture escape. And then we got another inmate. His name is Blackie Drago. Him and Vulture are planning something. And then we catch up with Peter and Aunt May, I think. Yeah, Peter and Aunt May, they go to Anna's house, and MJ's there. She's getting ready for a date, but she's going on a date with Harry. So Harry's moving. He's moving fast on MJ. Once he got the go ahead, he went ahead and did it. So, but then we got Aunt May talking shit about Harry, and then we catch up with Blackie and Toombs, the Vulture. They break out of prison, and it's revealed that Blackie, he had drugged Toombs to steal the Vulture wings from himself. And again, we got this mysterious guy. He's just orchestrating things from behind the scenes. So anyway, Harry and Peter, they were going to have a housewarming party for their new apartment, so they're throwing a party, and Flash is there, MJ, Gwen, Harry, they're all waiting for Peter to come by, and then they see Spider-Man swinging by the window. Flash is a super fanboy of Spider-Man, and while the girls are dancing, Flash is looking out the window. He's like, hey, I'm trying to see Spider-Man. And then while Spider-Man, he gets distracted from the girls dancing, and he doesn't realize someone cuts his web line, and he falls. Again, great artwork. So he falls, and he's like, who got the one up on me? And then again, Flash, they cut back to the party. They're like, where's Peter? And then it's revealed that Blackie Drago, he stole the Vulture's wings, and he's trying to kill Spider-Man. And clock turns midnight again. Peter's friends are still waiting for him. Meanwhile, he's fighting off this new Vulture. And this new Vulture, he gets the upper hand, and he knocks out Peter. And he thinks he kills Spider-Man, but Spider-Man doesn't die. So that's where chapter 4 ends. And I like how they'll show the issue, like the cover of the issue, and the back of it shows Tim Sale's sketches. So I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, issue 5, Peter, it's the next day. Peter comes back to the apartment finally after getting his butt kicked, and he's kind of sick from being knocked out in the cold, and got this double page spread, and they're nice pads. So Peter, he goes straight to his room, and he passes out. And again, this mysterious man is, he knows that Spider-Man is close by. Spider-Man is not dead. And then we get to Adrian Toombs, the original Vulture. He gets visited by this mysterious man, and Adrian's gonna go out for revenge against Blackie. But then we cut back to Peter. He is sick in his bed, and MJ visits him with some homemade chicken soup from her aunt's, and she starts to feed him. And again, they're flirting hardcore, and Peter's like, oh, I thought you were dating Harry. And MJ, she's like, oh, sure, Harry's a nice guy and all, but... And then they get interrupted, and then who's at Peter's door? It's Gwen. And she's got a copy of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, because she had heard from Aunt May that Uncle Ben used to read that book to Peter when he was sick. And so she brought it to read to Peter. So, damn, Peter, he's got these two fine-ass women just at his bed looking to take care of him. Must be nice. So they're trying to take care of him, but Peter, he says, oh, well, I gotta get some rest. And in reality, he sees that the two Vultures are fighting outside. So the girls are pissed off. They leave, and Gwen and Harry, they go out to this play, and MJ again gives Flash the cold shoulder. And then Peter's still sick, but he's like, great power comes great responsibility. I have to intervene. And so he goes out to fight the two vultures, and it's another exhilarating fight sequence. And I love this double page spread. Beautiful, very beautiful. And so they start to fight up in the air, and then Flash, he is walking outside. He just left their apartment, and one of the vultures drops a bag of money, and Flash is like, oh shit, I hit the jackpot. But then a part of a gargoyle is about to fall on him, but then Spider-Man saves Flash, and this is a great spread page, and this is an homage to the iconic Amazing Fantasy issue number 15 cover. So I like that homage. And again, Tim Sale, incredible. So Flash gets saved by Spider-Man, and Spider-Man tells Flash, like, hey, just bring the money back to the bank. And Flash, he's, now he's reflecting, what is he doing with his life? And then again, Spider-Man continues to fight with the two vultures. He gets the upper hand, and he eventually defeats both of them. And then back to the apartment, and Flash reveals that, he got saved by Spider-Man, and it made him realize that he has to do more with his life, and he's going to enlist in the army. And then again, this mysterious man is still scoping out Peter and Harry's apartment, so he knows where Spider-Man lives, apparently, because he, takes a torn piece of Spider-Man's costume and gets the scent, and it's probably Kraven. And surprise, it is Kraven. So, start of the last issue, Kraven is reviewing video of Spider-Man fighting his various rogues. We got the Scorpion, got Dr. Octopus. Again, great scene. Tim Sale's designs on these iconic villains. And then his other encounters in the previous issues. So Kraven, he is on the hunt now. And it is Valentine's Day. Peter received an anonymous Valentine from somebody he doesn't know. And then Harry's with him. He's like, hey, let me borrow your aftershave. And they're about to throw a party for Flash's going away. And everybody shows up to the apartment. Gwen's looking great. MJ's looking great. And then Flash, he shows up with a bunch of people. So, and it's revealed that Norman is finally out of the hospital, and he's going to the party as well. And Peter, he's worried because, again, he's still he's still cautious that Norman might know his secret identity. And they're having a good time at the party, and then all of a sudden Peter, his spider sense goes off, and Kraven crashes the party. And Flash tries to jump him, but he gets knocked down, and then Kraven kidnaps Harry. And Peter's like, call 911, I'm gonna take photos. Meanwhile, he's gonna slip into his costume, and Kraven thinks that Harry is Spider-Man because Harry was wearing Peter's aftershave. So, since earlier Kraven smelled the costume, he thought that, again, Harry was Spider-Man. But then Spider-Man, he intervenes. Him and Kraven fight. And then eventually Harry tries, while Spider-Man is fighting Kraven, Harry goes up behind him, hits him in the head, and then we have Norman show up, and again, I guess he still has amnesia at this point. Then Spider-Man, he knocks out Kraven, and Norman's like, thank you, Spider-Man, for saving my son, and then Spider-Man leaves him. back at the apartments in the aftermath. Gwen goes to Peter's room and she reveals that she is the one that gave him the Valentine, and they finally embrace and have their first kiss. So it's a very sweet moment. And then we flash forward to the present and we go back to this blue color palette. It's revealed that, again, this is in the future now, and Peter, he's living in his house. At this point, he is married to Mary Jane, and he is, you know, just reminiscing about Gwen in his time. And it's revealed that Mary Jane was listening to the whole time, and Peter's like, oh, I'm sorry that you had to hear that, but MJ was really empathetic and understanding, and she was like, tell Gwen I said hi and I miss her. So very wholesome and sweet moment. And I liked how back when they went back to the present, the color palette went back to pretty much all blue, and you know, Peter, he's just thinking about Gwen, and it was just a very emotional and sweet moment. So that was it. Again, this story is incredible. I was enthralled throughout the whole thing, and just Tim Sale's artwork was very great, and the colors by Steve Buccellato definitely elevated the art. But Jeph Loeb's writing in this was just spot on. He got the voices for Peter and all his supporting cast, and I just love seeing Tim Sale's design for some of the iconic rogues. We didn't see all of them, but we saw the majority of the main ones. So I definitely recommend Spider-Man Blue. If you grab a copy, if you can read it online, definitely do so, because this is just a great story. And yeah, I'm glad that I read it. So that was it. That's the episode of Trade Talk Tuesdays. And for the next episode, since it is still Spider-Man month, I'm going back to where it all began. And I'm going to be talking about the first appearance in the first 10 issues of Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's run of Amazing Spider-Man. And this is going to be, again, the Amazing Fantasy 15, and the first 9 issues of Amazing Spider-Man by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. So that will be what I go over on the next episode of Trade Talk Tuesday. So that was it. Let me know if you read Spider-Man Blue in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the book. And yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Leave a like on the video, share it if you can, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers. And yeah, again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And again, my name is Chris Gonzalez. This is Chris Chats Comics, and I'm out. Peace.